Did you see that shit? MMA podcast. Hosted by mixed martial arts journalist Mike Strauss, aka Strauss21, and Chicago's number one underground comedian, Apollo Taj Mahal.
Thank you for listening. I am Mike Strauss, aka Strauss21, with Chicago's number one underground comedian, Apollo Taj Mahal. We appreciate it, guys. If you like the interview, and I know you will, be sure to go ahead and listen to the full episode. You can find it on our website, didyousseethatshit.com, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, pretty much wherever you find your favorite podcast. Be sure to listen to the whole episode. We appreciate it very much, guys. Right now, I want to welcome Charles Boston Strong Rosa to the show. He's a featherweight in the UFC. We haven't seen him since last April, but he's got to be chomping at the bit to get back in there. What's going on, Charles?
Yeah, not much. I was supposed to fight in Japan, UFC in Japan, and I was supposed to fight Mizuto Hirota. But obviously, whoever saw, he had the weight issues. I agreed to fight him. He's 5 pounds overweight anyways. And, yeah, luckily the UFC took care of me and, paid me the win and the show money, for flying me and my whole family out to Japan. So everything got taken care of. Really, but I don't just do it for the money. I was really upset I didn't fight. I mean, I came to Japan to fight, and I'm a fighter, so I wanted it. But, after that, unfortunately, they were going to give me a quick turnaround. But, I was having some, muscle atrophy problems in my upper body and stuff like that, and it turned out I had some neck issues that I had to get taken care of, so it looks like I'm going to be out for a couple more months, but after that I should be able to get back in there.
And then you were scheduled to fight Ige too, right?
Yeah, so I had to pull out of my fight. I was supposed to fight Danny Ige in Boston for the third time. I won my first 2 fights at Boston at the Garden, and this was going to be my third, man. I was so friggin' pumped for the fight. But I had to pull out of the fight with an injury 3 weeks before the fight. It was the first time in my life I ever pulled out of a fight with any injury. The doctor was the one who told me that I couldn't do it. The UFC doctors, they said I couldn't fight after getting my neck checked out. And it really sucked. But I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I'm going through the therapy stuff now. Fly to New York tomorrow to get clearance from the doctor to get back in there. So hopefully get the news I want.
Yeah, you did the right thing, man. I mean, you're still a young guy. There's no point to risk your health. I don't see the point in that. Man, I saw on your social media that you're stoked that you're in the new UFC 3 game and you were actually playing it. You put out there, I am Boston Strong. Anybody, basically put out an open invitation for anybody to come and get some, huh?
Yeah, hell yeah. Actually, I just changed. The PSN username that I have is Charles Rosa 16. So anybody that wants to challenge me online, that's kind of something that kept me a little bit sane. I'm a new character in the UFC EA Sports 3 video game. It just came out February 2nd. So that was really good news. After getting the bad news about my fight and the injury, I was kind of sitting in my house. I was a little bit, for 2 months, I really couldn't do much. I, only basically really light workouts and stuff like that. So it kind of kept me sane and kept me, training mentally. So I'm a really competitive guy. So it was one of those things that even though I couldn't fight, I could still, beat people up online. So anybody that wants some, you can get it.
I might have to take you up on that too, man. That's a fantastic game. UFC 3 is done really well, man. It's very fun.
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually learned stuff from it. I did the whole career mode this season. I was learning stuff that surprisingly you see stuff and you can pick up on stuff. So it's almost in a weird, interesting way, it's like training for me, even though I'm not in there. I mean, it's a pretty legit game.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. You had a really good seat for last weekend's fights, huh? UFC Fox in Orlando.
Yeah, I was just there. I was sitting with my coach Mikey Brown, and I brought my girl and his girl came. We got to sit basically front row with the fights. Man, there was some pretty amazing fights. I came up fighting in Florida with Tisha Torres. Unfortunately, she didn't get the win, but I was definitely there to support her. She was someone that I fought 20 amateur fights in Florida, and she was at most of them, fighting on the same cards as me. So we came up together. So I was looking forward to seeing her. But that main event was fireworks for sure.
Oh, yeah, that was actually a really good card all the way through. I actually picked Tisha to win that fight. She looked really good early on. Andrade, it's not even fair that she can fight at 115. How does she make weight? I don't understand how she makes weight.
Yeah. I mean, she's a beast for the girls. She's, I saw her. I think she fought in Japan when I was supposed to fight, and I was impressed with her. They got fight of the night. It was one of the best girl fights I ever saw in my life. Super impressive, and she's. I knew she'd be tough, but I was just hoping Tisha could pull it off. But it's part of the game. You win some, you lose some. But it was definitely a good fight, and I had a blast in Orlando. It was actually a great event. I don't know how the turnout was. Like I know they didn't sell out, but it was definitely some fun fights.
All the way from the early prelims all the way to, as you said, the main event. I saw that you did a radio interview not too long ago with Trans Media Group. It was about how you got into like mixed martial arts, your journey to the UFC basically. And I really dug that, man. Do you have your own podcast, or are you going to be doing something like that in the future?
Yeah, yeah, I actually do. Especially since like this is the first time in my whole career I had like a month or two to like sit back and not train. I'm usually training every day, and I'm doing interviews and from upcoming fights. But definitely, man, I've always been open to like doing podcasts and stuff. I mean, I got a pretty cool story of how I got into fighting and like my whole like life story and stuff like that. So I always like hearing other fighter stories too, because most people don't realize, but every fighter that gets it's fighting has like something. It's very rare you find a fighter that doesn't have an amazing story. That's what makes fighters great and separates them from other sports and other athletes. Is like, there's something that drives them. And for me, my case was losing my two older brothers to drug overdoses when I was 16 years old, and then just kind of growing up the way I did, and how I even got into mixed martial arts. So I got a pretty cool story with that too. And I mean, I didn't start training fighting until I was 23 years old. I played hockey my whole life, and the fact that I was able to start something brand new at 23 years old and make it to the highest level from something that I didn't do before is pretty cool. But definitely, man, I'm always open to doing those type of podcasts. I always thought about maybe doing it since I got some downtime. But right now, my eye is still on the prize. I'm still signed with the UFC, and I still have my eyes on my goal. My ultimate goal is to be the champ. And I mean, I had some tough breaks with my losses. Like all three of my losses in the UFC are fight of the night bonuses, and all of them are in other countries or foreign territory. I mean, I still consider New York a foreign country for me because a Boston guy going to New York. All the fights I lost were just split decisions or stuff like that, and fight of the night bonus. So every one of those fights were razor thin, and all those guys have been ranked top 10 at some point in their career. So I know I'm right there. I'm only 1 or 2 wins away from a huge big fight, and I'm always pushing, man. So I'm just looking to get back healthy, get back to doing what I love now.
Oh yeah, I'm just throwing it out there, man. But Shane Burgos and you run that back. I think that'd be a really good fight.
For sure, man. I mean, I won the first 2 rounds of that. I was in New York, his home place. I won the first 2 rounds. I got the judges' scorecards after the fight. I was up 2 rounds to none. Third rounds, he caught me with a big shot. I got back up on my feet. He came at me. I was still on my feet, and the ref jumped in out of nowhere. It was really, really, I was unbelievably upset. I mean, I've never had that happen in my career. I've seen it happen to other people where the guy's still fighting, and the ref just jumps in. And, I mean, I still have some conspiracy in my head, like, oh, it's a New York commission that, screwed me. But it really, it's one I want back. I don't feel like I was defeated in that fight. And on my record, it says, TKO loss. But, I mean, for me, it's like I don't feel like I was TKO'd. I'm sitting on my feet, swinging back, fighting, and they jump in. It's part of the game. There's nothing I could do. I mean, I can't stop the ref. And but that's definitely a fight I would like to run back and, to get back in there. I just feel like if the guys, to the end of the fight, I was still standing and they stopped it. It's just, for me, it's a tough pill to swallow, but hopefully I can get it back one day.
It's hard to TKO a guy that's standing, right? I mean, it just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, that's my point. Is I don't know. And, I said this, you can look back at the video in the fight. I mean, he definitely hit me with a good shot, went down, but I did a back roll right to my feet, got up. He hit me with some more shots, and I swing back, and he did a good job. It's not his fault, I mean, that's his job is to keep fighting. But right when the ref stopped the fight, I jumped in. I said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I'm winning the fight. Like I was completely coherent and clear, and I think he knew he made a mistake. He looked at me like, "Oh shit!" Like,
who was the ref in that?
I don't even want him to remember his name. He's an idiot, but I forget his name, but I mean, I could look, but
yeah, no worries out there.
I think it was Tom or something like that, but he was from the New York Commission, and I just, I'm a Boston guy. My nickname is Boston Strong, and I don't think the rivalry is that big of a deal, but you know how it is. When I come up fighting in Florida, I know all the Florida Commission guys. I know they're on they're at the fights. They know who I am. Like, maybe they're just trying to, he came up fighting in New York. You never know how it is. You just might, he might know the guy, but like I said, I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I didn't like how that fight was stopped, and I'm really upset with it. Still, this is my first. I've never been finished in my whole career, and on paper it says I have, but I don't feel like I have. Like I said, man, all I can do is get back in there and keep swinging and keep that's what a fighter does. He gets knocked back, he gets back up, and that's what I am. So I'm gonna continue to do that.
Well, I know you will, man. I can't wait for you to get back in there. And for anybody listening who thinks that kind of stuff doesn't happen, that very much does happen. People play favorites all the time. So, hey, it's a very real possibility, man. I want to thank you for your time, man. I know that you're busy. Real quick, we kind of have a tradition here. If you could you say, this is Charles Rosa, and you're listening to the Did You See That Shit podcast?
Yeah, this is Charles Rosa. You're listening to Did You See That Shit podcast.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yep, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on.